Hello, Leopard Nation. This is the Felix book for the 21-22 school year. We're going to get started with the first phase of the book and what we would call chapter 1. That silly rabbit Felix is traveling again, and if you're a kindergartner, you haven't met Felix yet, but you're about to. We talk about Felix each year in the art room and his crazy travels, and wherever his destination lies, we actually travel with him the only way we can in the art room by studying artists and artwork from his locations. So I will begin with the introduction of the book and the first chapter, which includes a letter. Please forgive my camera work. I have to change the view so that you can see the book instead of me, and it looks a little earthquake-like. My older leopards are used to that, but I apologize now. Get that book situated and ready to go. I'm gonna check my camera view. Looks like we're doing a pretty good job. So with this introduction, we can see there's some pictures of Felix. He has a red plaid suitcase. There he is writing, probably a letter to us at Lantern Road. And here is the first page of the introduction, a very busy airport. At the end of vacation, something terrible happened. Suddenly, in the middle of the airport, Sophie's cuddly rabbit Felix disappeared. "Don't worry, Sophie," Mom reassured her and put her arm around her. But Sophie felt a big lump in her throat. What if Felix is lost forever, she thought. This is Sophie right here. And that's her mom and her little sister, Lena. I'm gonna make sure that's within the camera view. "I'll find him," Dad promised, and started looking right away. "We'll help too," her brothers and sister added. But even though Lena, Nicholas, Julia, Sophie, and Dad ran all around looking and asked everyone they met, the little rabbit was nowhere to be found. This was very, very bad. Sophie and Felix had known each other forever, or at least since they'd snuggled together in Sophie's crib. And even when Sophie grew bigger, Felix still got to sleep in the bed. The little cuddly rabbit and Sophie were inseparable. I'm scooting the book over so you can see this other view down this side. Only when she went to school did he have to wait for her at home. And every afternoon she would tell Felix exactly what had happened at school. They shared everything. Sophie was sure that Felix loved spaghetti more than anything, just as she did, and Felix always understood Sophie. Sophie knew what Felix wanted to say to her. There's a funny spaghetti picture, if you can see that. When it was time for their plane to leave, there still wasn't the slightest trace of Felix. And so Sophie had to board the plane without her cuddly rabbit. She didn't want extra ice cream or the seat by the window. She just sat, sadly. To cheer Sophie up, her sister Lena drew a rabbit with crayons for her. He did look a little like her lost Felix. Sophie swallowed hard and swallowed again, and then a tear and more tears ran down her cheeks. Back home at bedtime, the bed seemed scary and empty without Felix, and so the summer vacation came to a sad end. School began again, and Sophie wasn't even looking forward to seeing her teachers or her friends. All she can think about is poor Felix. See her walking sadly. He has never traveled alone like this before. Isn't he awfully scared? When the first day of school is over at last, Sophie slowly makes her way home. She doesn't want to think about how there will be no more Felix waiting for her in her room. Her feet grow heavier and heavier, and it takes her 1,000,000 minutes to reach the garden gate in front of her house. But why is Mom so excited? She is waving something in the air, and she calls, "Sophie, look! There is some mail for you." Sure enough, there is her name on an envelope. Amazed, who could write in such a squiggly scrawl? Look at this. News for Sophie. 33 Elm Road, Mansfield, Ohio, USA. Felix always draws clues about his location when he sends letters. And I bet some of you with great sharp eagle eyes can figure out where this is from already. Let's look at the back of the envelope. From Felix, presently at Sandwich Street, number 24, London, Great Britain. Great Britain is also called England. It is also called the United Kingdom. It has 3 names. Let's see what this letter says. London in August. Dear Sophie, unfortunately, I got lost in the airport, but please don't worry about me. I am all right. I went aboard the wrong airplane. It did not fly home, but to London. Here, there is a square castle on a river, but the river is completely, absolutely filthy. There's also a big palace with lots of men in funny hats standing in front of it. You wouldn't wear a hat like this even in the winter. And one more funny thing, everybody here talks a bit differently. I'll write again soon. I miss you. Yours truly, Felix. There's his autograph. Sophie can hardly believe it. A real letter from her Felix. Her heart leaps and she clutches the letter tightly. Then she hugs Mom, takes a deep breath and shouts, Lena, Nicholas, Julius, come look. When Dad comes home from work, he gets to read the letter too. He says, sounding surprised. So the traveler has landed in London. That's the capital of England. How many people live in a capital, Sophie asks. She wants to know all about where Felix is now. With Dad, she takes a look in the encyclopedia under London. It says there, capital of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, lying on both sides of the Thames River, population almost 7 million, residence of the royal family, contains about 1,600 churches and chapels, as well as fortresses, including the Tower of London and the Houses of Parliament. One of the largest cities of Europe. Dad points to a picture and says, that is where the English Queen lives. In the palace. Does she take off her crown at supper time? Thinking it over, Sophie falls happily asleep. Right here you can see Tower Bridge in London with one of their famous double-decker buses. If you've read Harry Potter books and then seen the movies, you have seen this bridge when the night bus crosses it. Also, it leads directly to Tower of London. That seems like a funny name when it has 4 towers, but it is still called just Tower of London. Now, this is where the Queen and the royal family's jewelry is housed. At one point, it was a palace or castle. At another point, it was a very famous prison. And because it was built so prisoners couldn't escape, it is very secure and safe for the royal family's jewelry now. The walls are very thick, even though the building is very old, and escape was nearly impossible, so breaking in to steal jewelry would be nearly impossible as well. We are going to talk a bit more about these locations in conjunction with some artwork that comes to us from England. Some of the artwork that Leopards will study comes from England long ago. Some comes from England a little bit more recently. Either way, we're all going to travel the only way we can to London, England with Felix. Get set to make some creative artwork from London, England.